For coming out today for our Justice for Pedro rally. My name is Carmen Perez. I'm the Executive Director of the Gathering for Justice and co-founder of Justice League NYC. I'm one of the organizations in collaboration with everyone here that is working to bring justice for Pedro and his family. We're going to be bringing up the private investigator, Manuel Gomez, who's been working with the family, was hired by the family to do their own investigation, and he's going to share some words.
I want to say, first of all, thank you for everyone coming. And I want to thank Senator Ginaris and Senator Rivera as well. A year and a half ago, Jessica Perez came to me asking help for her son. I did not realize the magnitude of my investigation would uncover the fact that more than 50 other kids are currently incarcerated by these two corrupt detectives, Detective Daniel Brady and Detective David Terrell. But on top of that, I didn't realize or even fathom that it would get to the point that I found evidence showing that the Assistant District Attorney, David Slott, has falsified these cases with them. And not only falsified the cases with them, but put in letters for them to be promoted because of these false arrests. This case has now uncovered a hornet's nest of corruption on the 6th floor of Darcel Clark's office. I'm going to be going to the State Attorney General to ask to put charges against, with my evidence, against the Assistant District Attorney David Slott, Detective David Terrell, and Detective Daniel Brady, because they need to be in jail. Okay? The fact of the matter is, thank you. The fact of the matter is that not only do I do investigations in the Bronx, but I conduct investigations throughout the state of New York. I have uncovered massive amount of corruption from Syracuse, Albany, Brewster, White Plains, Valhalla, Nassau, Suffolk, and all the boroughs within New York. This corruption has to stop. So Frank Serpico and I have created a new bill called the Department of Civilian Justice, a proposal that we're trying to make now that will give oversight over the District Attorney's Office and over the Department, the Police Department, Department of Corrections. Again, there is no mechanism now currently for an average citizen to report this type of corruption. All right, Frank Serpico talked about this in 1971. There has been no change, except now Frank and I have created a blueprint, and we've asked the senators to now cause hearings on this, and soon there will be. So I'd like you all to come when that happens to support this. We must put a stop. Screaming justice and no peace gets you nowhere. We need to have legislation that will create oversight. I want to thank you for your time.
Now we're going to hear from Leila Martinez, who has also been working with the family closely. She's from Beyond the Box Initiative and the National Council Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls.
Hi everybody. So I'm here today because I am this community. I am the Bronx. I was born and raised right here in this city. And not only that, I'm also the mother of an 18-year-old son. And when I saw Pedro's story, I only reflected my son. We cannot wait until it is our kids that are impacted to wake up and to do something about things. Our kids are not criminals. They're not, they need to be identified as people, and that's what they need to be treated as. We need to make sure that our kids are protected, and we need to be a voice for our kids. We need to stand up. We need to fight for our kids, their freedom, all the time. I'm sorry, hold on. Okay. Our kids need to be protected from the corrupt system. Our kids need to be, I'm sorry. Breathe in. Yeah. When I often speak about how I am afraid for my child from not the people that are in the street trying to make a living, but from police officers. I'm afraid of the people who are paid to protect and serve my child. I'm afraid of what they might do to him. What I get back is, oh, well, there's nothing to worry about if he doesn't do anything. So I need those people to ask the Central Park Five if that is a true statement. I need them to ask Shabaka Shakur, who did 27 and a half years for a crime he did not commit, if that is a true statement. I need them to ask Derek Hamilton, who did 30 years for a crime he did not commit, if that is a true statement. I need them to ask Pedro Hernandez, who did 13 months for a crime that there is overwhelming evidence that he did not commit, if that is a true statement. I need them to stop incriminating our kids, is to stop falsifying evidence against them. I need them to stop killing us. That is what I need them to do. We need to stand up for our kids always. Thank you.
Now we're going to hear from Nicole Triplett from the New York Civil Liberties Union.
Thank you. Pedro's story disturbs us at New York Civil Liberties Union and CPR. Not only is the system failing our communities, but this story reflects and shows how the system is lodging a full-on attack on our communities. What am I talking about? I'm talking about a speedy trial right that still remains non-existent in New York. That it permits kids, New Yorkers, to wait months, if not years, for trial. What am I talking about? I'm talking about a cash bail system that by definition is inhumane and unjust, to be able to attach a fee to someone's liberty. What also am I talking about? I'm talking about police not being held accountable to the communities they actually serve. Yes. Sure, the system is broken, and this another fate. We have another face to this injustice, and a lot of work is going to be done. But enough is enough. Enough is enough to our mayors. Enough is enough to our governors. Enough is enough to our DAs, and we've got to hold them accountable. And we at NYCLU are encouraging people to get out and vote and hold these people accountable. Thank you.
Before we bring on the next speaker, I also want to recognize that there are people in the audience that are part of the NYPD 12. There's also a mother here who has a sign about her son being incarcerated with a $500,000 bail. And so I just want you to know that we recognize you and we see you and we thank you for being here and continuing to advocate for your family and for your sons. We're going to go ahead and bring on Senator Gustavo Rivera from the Bronx.
The reality is that there are thousands of young people like him. We are seeking to close Rikers because we believe that it is a place that ultimately does not bring justice and ultimately treats a system that is not supposed to be punitive. If somebody is waiting for trial, they should not be punished while they're waiting for trial.
Pedro Hernandez is one of thousands that have experienced injustice at the hands of our court system. I know we have members of Khalif Browder's family here with us today as well. Everybody knows his case. A young man spent 3 years in jail for a crime he did not commit, a very low-level crime at that, and ended up taking his own life because of the experience he had. Pedro Hernandez, over a year in jail without even having the chance to prove his innocence, which he'll get next month. Now, why is that happening? It's happening because we have a bail system that is unjust in our society. A rich person and a poor person accused of the same exact crime. Rich person is walking the streets while they wait for trial. A poor person is locked up, usually in Rikers Island, because they cannot afford to purchase their freedom. That is what our criminal justice system has wrought right now. It is inherently discriminating against poor people in our society, and it is grossly unfair. We are trying to eliminate bail in New York State. Let's end the injustice once and for all, and we're going to work until we make that happen. Thank you.
We're talking about kids, and what happens when you lock up kids, you lock up the families. You lock up the mothers who die because they have heart attacks from what happens to the fear in them when their kid goes to someplace like Rikers. But let's not get it twisted. This jail, on this court that houses, that court that my brother went to, and this DA who was the judge on my brother's case for the longest period of time, these jails are not Rikers, and Rikers is not all jails. But Rikers is one of the most tormentous places that we have in New York City, right in our own backyard. So when are we going to stop? When do we get a chance to have ourselves looked at as human beings instead of the monsters that they make us? We're innocent until proven guilty, are we not? Yeah. We're innocent. And this is all that we're here to say today. He's innocent. You know the charges against him is fraudulent. So let us go. Don't hold our families hostage anymore. We need justice for Pedro today. DA Clark, you are our DA, and you told us in your inauguration that you would not stand for this anymore, although you did it to Khalif. You told Khalif that in court, while he was there, that you're going to teach him a lesson before he was even considered innocent or guilty. So when are we going to have our rights done and held on the way that it's supposed to? Now is the time. No more talking about it. We demand justice now. Thank you.
They put him in a prison and they thought they were going to lock up his spirit and his body. And he fooled them all. He said, I will be free and liberated even in this space by getting an education. I will get my high school diploma. Not only will I get a high school diploma, I will get a college scholarship. That's the power of what our black and brown babies do, even in the toughest times. Trying to lock up our minds doesn't lock up our hearts. When we know what we want, when we're ready to fight for it like we are here, for justice for Pedro, he showed great courage. 10 years, someone said. The mayor thinks it takes 10 years to close Rikers. There's something interesting about that 10 years. The governor thinks it takes 10 years to fund billions of dollars owed our schools. It's been 10 years since we funded our schools, and at the same time, we have children, guess what, who look very much like Pedro, who have lost art, music, and a whole host of programs and resources, and our public schools are set up for sabotage. 10 years again, guess what, as we work for raising the age right this year. That's right. Right? Kids have to wait 10 years and have for their records to be sealed. What? Guess what? The commonality is that it's black and brown children and communities once again saying you gotta wait. Yes. So we stand here to say, no, we don't have to wait. We are community, we vote, we care, and so justice for Pedro means justice for everyone. It is our job, it is our obligation. As Asada says, we have nothing to lose but our chains, and if we don't believe that, then we're not in the right struggle. So I want to end by saying, I want you to hold, I was trying to figure out how to show some love for Pedro, who's not here, and my heart and my fingers weren't coming out quite right. So I said, you know what, let me look up, what is the sign language? How do we say love in sign language? So I'm going to ask everybody to hold up their hands like this. Send love to Pedro, his family, and his friends, and then I want you to close your fist like this. And send power and strength for the trauma that he's experienced, but for the healing that we want to make sure that him and his family receive. Justice for Pedro.
My mindset was like, I'm not going to be a victim to anything. So I started fighting. But the thing about it is, this 1 week that I was in there changed my life forever. This 1 week, I seen 3 guys hang themselves, back to back, back to back, back to back. And when you see that, that's what changes your minds of what jail is. When people are taking their life, and when you see that, when you have the image in your mind as you see someone hang themselves. My first time, I've been through everything. I've been homeless, I was gang related, you know what I'm saying? I remember my mom's was an immigrant, but this right here told me I was in a different world. And the scars of me being in Rikers, the fighting, the endurance pain that was happening to me. When I was 18, I came home when I was 18 on probation. But the hurt that Rikers created a pain that mentally, physically, and emotionally broke me down. I didn't have no counseling therapy to return back to society. So my way to tell people my pain was by fighting. Everybody's thinking like, this kid, lost his mind. But at the end of the day, I was a victim of Rikers. I was a victim of hurt and pain. And when I was 18, I was still doing the same things. And what people don't understand, that Rikers hasn't just broke me down, it broke my whole family. At this time right now in America, none of my uncles are here. None of my friends I lost friends to the streets. I lost friends that would never come home. I lost friends that you never see again. I am the person that will have to look over all my cousins, because all my uncles got deported because of Rikers. They could have did something better. Why are we our community that's fighting for pennies in our own communities, for resources? When we fight for resources, we shouldn't be fighting for resources, because the difference between here and downtown is just the color of our skins. If we don't think this is a new modern day slavery, or what is happening to us as people, then we need to figure something out. Because at the end of the day, we'll be here 10 times, 20 times. When Mayor de Blasio said that 10 years it would take to close Rikers, then I'll be seeing y'all 7, 8 more times here. And until we put the actions behind our words, we'll be here again.
I can relate to Pedro's mother, Jessica, because I myself was formerly incarcerated on Rikers Island and separated from my children. I know the pain. No mother should have to go through. Even though it was Pedro who was unjustly locked up. The whole family is doing time. The whole family is suffering. There are thousands of people just like Pedro and his family going through this right now. People on Rikers Island, their families who are trying to get them out. Pedro and Jessica are not alone. Pedro and Jessica are not alone. The bail-setting practices of the Bronx District Attorney and the jails on Rikers Island are depriving people of their constitutional rights to liberty and due process. It must end. Now. We need comprehensive criminal justice reform. We need true speedy trial reform. We have to end the system of cash bail that traps poor people in jail, waiting for a trial that may never come. We need accountability in the district attorney's office, and we need to close Rikers Island now.
I'm Roy Waterman. I'm a co-founder of an organization called Drive Change. And at the end of the day, we have to say, when is enough enough? When do we stop shedding tears for our young brothers and young sisters of color that continue to be intercepted by the system that is not broken? I will repeat that again. This system is not broken. It is doing exactly everything that was intended to do, and that's to oppress a specific demographic of people, and it's doing that very well. So we cannot reform something that's broken. We need to break it first and reimagine what it looks like to be incarcerated in America. Pay attention to the language you're using when you're talking about people who are formerly incarcerated, as well as the men and women that are incarcerated right now. They are not convicts, criminals. We are not ex-cons or ex-inmates. We are not ex-anything. We are returning citizens. We are formerly incarcerated. Why? Because it speaks to the situation we've been through and not define who we are as people.
So I also want to recognize the fact that we are on the cuff of the anniversary of Michael Brown. Right? And so we also want to say his name. And so the next person that I'm bringing up is Victoria Davis, who is a sister of Dalron Smalls, who was killed by police last year. So she's going to share some words with us. Give her a welcome, please.
Hello. Hello. My name is Victoria Davis. I'm the sister of Dalron Small, who was killed in Brooklyn on Atlantic and Bradford last year on July 4th by NYPD officer Wayne Isaacs. I came today to support and in solidarity for Pedro's family because my brother, Delron, was a victim of mass incarceration and the broken window system. We need justice for Pedro. He has done great things under the worst circumstances. And I have no doubt, and I'm pretty sure no one else has any doubt, that he will do incredible things while he's home. We need justice for Pedro. We are not asking for justice, we are demanding justice. We're demanding justice for Pedro and the end of mass incarceration. Thank you.
So it's been truly an honor to work with this family. I think all of us feel the same way, right? Everybody here, I think we are really grateful the fact that we have been able to meet a family like the Hernandez family. And so without further ado, I'm gonna bring up Jessica Perez and Pedro's brother, Luis Hernandez. But I also wanna let you all know, don't leave after they speak, because we're gonna get a message from Pedro delivered to all of you.
First of all, good morning to everyone. I'm not very good at this. I'm a little nervous. I wrote a little something. Sometimes we feel like we can make it. Like we ran out of fuel and the next gas station is like 5 miles away. But we need to get up and make it our destination any way possible. We need to concentrate in the real problem here, which is our Hispanic and Black youth being held at Rikers Island, waiting for trial, usually for low levels offenses, unable to afford bail, and stuck in hell that can last several years, because that's what I call it, hell. Being mentally and physically abused while still presumed innocent. It's harsh and unjust and unfair. We are told in court, the court of law states that we are innocent until proven guilty. Therefore, is our youth being forced to pay this crime in such horrible environment while we still being innocent? As the mother of Pedro Hernandez and witnessed this firsthand, I want to let the world know that yes, I am more than grateful for having him out and back home. However, stay woke and know that there are kids still in there going through the circumstances that my son had to endure. We must start giving them helping hands any way possible until this is no longer happening. Together we stand here today, and I hope this will make a difference. With senators, bail reforms being pushed, me as a mother, with only one man next to me, I tried to fight a whole year for my son's bail to be reduced. I was able to post bail, but not to that extreme. But I guess my money wasn't good enough, because it took for the RFK to come in, and just by them stepping in, the bail was reduced to $100,000 after me fighting a whole year for it to be reduced. So then again, I asked everybody to just remember we still got many kids like Pedro Hernandez in there. And in the power, that's where the unity is in the power. If we all stay together, we could make this happen. With Senator Hernandez pushing bail reforms, everybody standing together, we could make this happen. I want to give a special thanks for somebody that I believe in my heart made this possible, which is Investigator Manuel Gomez. With lack of sleep, managing to do investigations, what should be done by the justice system, he managed to bring justice to Pedro Hernandez. Let's stop arresting and investigating more. And with that said, I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for being here. I'm a little nervous once again, but let's stay together.
First and foremost, my brother is not here right now, but I would like to thank every person who heard his story out and the dedicated people who gave selflessly of their time, their talent, and their treasures. Together with the nation full of giving people who supported our family without a doubt, all just in the name of justice. We are thankful for our struggle because without it, we wouldn't have stumbled across our strength. But it must stop here. No other person should experience the sickening environment of Rikers Island, all while just being a detainee. Yes, there's options for people to choose to be positive and have a grateful attitude which will determine how they live their life. But when they're abused in every aspect, when they're denied the basic necessities to live, and when they're constantly treated like scum, there's no option. The option they are left with is to rebel and act out how every human being should. Rising up as a community, letting the world know that we refuse to allow this any further is what we must continue to do. We need to be heard. We must voice our opinions and all our emotions fearlessly, and we must allow the world to hear the truth, that our justice system needs complete reformation. With that, I here today stand as a 15-year-old reminding the world that the power is within the youth. We are the future. We are change, and we are capable.
That was extremely powerful. I always say, not only are young people the future, but they're also the present, and they're our greatest gift, and so we have to nurture them. So I'm gonna bring up my brother, my son, who's a hip-hop artist, who's from the Bronx, who's also formerly incarcerated and has dedicated the past 4 years to working with us at Justice League to bring a voice to the most marginalized communities. So,
amen. How y'all doing today? Let's make some noise for Pedro's family, please. That was a 15-year-old young man that spoke like an adult grown professor. That's what happens when we invest in our youth. Say not again. Not again. I said say not again. Not again. Let's raise a fist for Mike Brown. Because 3 years ago today in Ferguson, Missouri, a white cop shot 18-year-old Mike down. So it is in his spirit of Mike Brown that we gather here right now. His death gave birth to the resistance. The blatant, disgusting injustice that we witnessed brought the Black Lives Matter movement into existence. So it's with that commitment that we are persistent in our fight. And this instant is no difference. See, the system is trying to take another brother of color's life, but not again. Because we seen what it did to Khalif Browder. So now we understand the need for all of us indeed to speak louder. Because silence is acceptance. So how are we gonna accept this? How Rikers Island does every child that gets arrested. They house and then condition them with violence, runs wild and is perfected. Now the child's perspective of right or wrong is disconnected and he got erected. So how is this correction? Not again. It is time that we send a message that every child will be protected. No justice, no peace. And that is why now we have connected to demand justice for Pedro. That young man sat confined for 13 months for a crime he didn't commit, and they know he was innocent. Now the police set him up, and they play ignorant, so we gonna stay vigilant until the charges are dismissed. And the officers who broke the law have cuffs around their wrists. Because this time gonna be different. This time they gonna listen. This time we gonna send a boy to school instead of sending him off to prison. This time the guilty cops won't walk off with a grin. Nope, not this time, not again. Raise your fist, everybody. Peace and love.
We're gonna bring back Luis to read some words of his brother.
Hi everyone, I'm back. I just want to read a statement that's written from my brother. He's not able to come here for safety and legal reasons, but he wanted to make sure everyone knows that he's thankful for everyone who's shown him and our family tremendous support and encouragement over the past year, especially in the recent weeks. It is because each and every one of you that I am no longer on Rikers Island. For now, thanks to you all, I'm able to focus on being a son, a brother, and a cousin again, and to begin my studies and preparation for college. But it is still not yet a time for celebration, because there are so many other young people who remain in cages, simply because they cannot afford to purchase their freedom. Hope that your support for me will translate to your support for each and every one of them, and that we can all look forward to the day when we may celebrate their freedom and the end of the unjust cash bail system that has stolen so many lives away. Thank you once again.